What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast presented by Fox One. Today, we're going to be talking about the new coaching hirings or developments. I don't know. They got into bench coach. They made Jeff Albert the hitting director at the major league level, but he's going to be on the bench. There's a lot going on with that, as well as a little bit of a media marvel as well, which we'll have some fun with. I want to talk to you guys about what's going on in the Mets world because you don't want to hear about playoff baseball too much, honestly. You don't want to hear about the Dodgers and the Mariners. So, Kai Correa, I think that's the one I want to talk the most about, that I'm most interested in. I know Jeff Alberts, you've got a lot on him, but Kai Correa to me is one of the more interesting ones. He is now the bench coach of the Mets, coming on over from the Cleveland Guardians organization, previously the Giants. Young guy, 37 years old. And Jeff Passan said it best. He's going to be the right-hand man to Carlos Mendoza.
And Kai Correa is someone that's already, despite being very young, 37 years old, the second he stopped playing college baseball, he went right to coaching. This is someone that's considered a manager in waiting, like a hot name that's around, someone that I'm sure was considered for similar jobs for a lot of other teams that were open there. People were a little bit surprised even by the fact he took this Mets job because they thought his name could have come up for actual manager openings. So I think this is kind of what we'd hinted at recently, where whoever is Carlos Mendoza's bench coach is someone that will probably have a lot of responsibility because it's someone that we don't know if what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, especially with some of the reports about Carlos Mendoza. Maybe if there's a slow start to the year, he might not be sticking around too much longer because Steve Cohen doesn't like that. But one really cool thing about Correa is that when he went to Cleveland, he was originally their major league field coordinator. And one thing that we've heard from David Stearns is that he wants to be better defensively this year. Guardians this past season, or 2 seasons ago, my bad, promoted, or this past season. Yeah, this past season. I saw 2024, but it was November. They promoted him to be the director of defense, base running, and game strategy. 2 things that I think the Mets need a lot of help on this year. Game strategy and defense. Base running, we know Antoine Richardson's got that on lock. Yeah. But the fact that Correa in a Guardians organization that while they don't spend money, they do get some of the best coaches every single year and get the most out of their players through this coaching probably. Defense and game strategy is something that we both acknowledge was a big problem for the Mets this past year.
A huge issue. Cleveland.com referred to Correa as a defensive mastermind.
Love that. And while there's been great strides with like Brett Beatty defensively and stuff like that, we know that this team can improve still. A lot of the guys defensively can get better. And game strategy, we always talked about where like John Gibbons, all he did was answer the phones on this team. He was always sitting back answering the phones. It felt like nobody was on top of Mendoza in the moments where he was sleeping. Like, where was everybody else? Seems like Correa might be a little bit more on top of him.
Correa also was in the Guardians organization before he went to the Giants, then back to Cleveland this past year. And he was an infield coach and defensive coordinator for the farm system 2018-2019, as they did have a lot of infield prospects, none that you particularly liked, but came to the major leagues and converted as defenders.
Yeah, they are all great defensive players. Yeah. They can't hit for shit like Brian Rocchio. God, what a horrible hitter he is, but elite glove.
And when John Gibbons left, the last thing he said was the Mets could probably benefit from some youth on this staff. Yes. And Kai Correa will be one of the youngest major league coaches this year at 37 years old.
37, that's so young. This dude was almost born in the 90s and he's coaching on a major league team. Is nuts.
And I think that's also cool with the fact that there is a better sense there, probably communication. Yes. I'm not going to say he's a similar, I mean, kind of is some guys' team, like a similar era. Like this guy's a millennial, but I think
he's younger than JD Martinez.
Yeah, right. There is something, the fact of communication. Seems like the way that he's been around, the way people are talking about him, it's kind of rare that you see from all the writers, all the B people, like such a universally lauded hire for just a regular coaching spot on the roster. And Correa's gotten that. I think that's an exciting thing, just to get like a vibrant young voice who brings things that we think the coaching staff specifically lacked last year.
Yes, which is coherence and development, which I like to see.
And again, coming from the then Indians, now Guardians, back 2018, 2019, the forward organization, to Gabe Kepler and Faraz these Giants, the forward organization. This past iteration of the Guardians, the forward organization. This is Kai Correa is coming here to disseminate very complex ideas to players in the most simple manner possible. And I think they hired him because he's proven an ability to do that in the recent time, where John Gibbons, on the other hand, vibes guy. Be like, oh, I don't want to say
and nobody picks up a phone like John Gibbons.
He kind of almost was like an overseer for Mendoza. And there's also this idea where we're watching these playoff teams play. Jeter talked about it a lot in the Game 2 post-game after the Mariners destroyed the Blue Jays, that the Mariners have taken on the personality of their manager. That's a line I think people want to say a lot. And Maybe that kind of happened in the Mets last year in the bad way, where the Mets were too
Mm,
easygoing because their manager was a little more easygoing. I'm not saying that Correa is fiery, but that Gibbons was very easygoing. So maybe
yes.
just again, new faces, new personalities, a lot of new stuff in here, I think can be very helpful.
Maybe he also helps too, because we know Mendoza's been very good with taking the information in and translating into the game before. Like, he's not a guy who's like anti-analytics by any
No.
means, but maybe Kai Correa helps with that too a little bit. We know that being able to get that information and translate it, maybe that helps even for Carlos Mendoza.
It's there's so much
Yes.
positivity around this hire right now, which again is shocking because also you look this guy Kai Correa, he's Hawaiian, I think he speaks Portuguese, like
He speaks Portuguese?
he's a fat look at his Wikipedia. I'm pretty sure I said it on there.
That's such a specific language that has such a low amount of people that speak it in baseball specifically.
He's a fascinating, interesting dude. And when he stopped playing at Puget Sound, which is a crazy place to play baseball, Puget Sound in Washington,
Hell yeah.
to go directly to coaching. He has been coaching baseball for 15 years. He's only 37 years old.
That's
this
so
guy,
cool. He's a baseball coach rat.
yes, he is a baseball coach rap. He's like, I do never want to be away from this game, which is a really cool thing. And again, that Giants team in 2021, their infield defense had no business being what it was. Like, I remember
Absolutely none. They had no business being good.
I remember the Brandon Crawford 20 OAA season at 35 years old. You're like, why the fuck is it happening right there? I'm not giving one coach all the credit for that, but just the fact that he did oversee some very good defensive teams. That to me, that's a good sign.
Also, he looks like a nerd, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, he looks fun. But again, there's
He's
a
got
lot
the
of
glasses. He's got the cool hip glasses.
sometimes I do get scared of like the overwhelming positivity around hires like this, but at
Yeah,
least
because
it's
remember the last time the Mets had an overwhelmingly positive hire?
who?
Jared Porter. Everybody was
Yeah.
praising him, and he turned out to be a sexual deviant. So
Yeah, not a good guy. But it's also the fact that he's a coach that the other teams that he left knew. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you really know your bench coach as well, like your infield coordinator well, it's like, okay, this guy had some business.
This show is brought to you by Fox One. Fox One is now live. Stream all your Fox favorites together in one place, including all AL playoff games and the World Series. Got some big ones coming up. Blue Jays need to win some games or this season is over for them. Big games against the Mariners.
Yeah, big games against the Mariners. When you guys are listening to this, you'll have already seen Shane Bieber versus George Kirby, which was happened at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. But then Thursday, it'll be the most important game this year no matter what, because either it's 2-1, the Blue Jays with a shot to come back, or 3-0, the Mariners a chance to somehow have this sweep after the crazy 5 games they played last series.
And you heard us mention, we're got our eyes on Max Scherzer and how he looks like. It's going to be a big storyline if he can go deep into this game for the Blue Jays, get any sort of outs.
Huge deal. And again, if you're the Blue Jays and your season's on the line with Max Scherzer on the mound, also this
Might not be.
It's going to be a big time off on Thursday because Max Scherzer versus Luis Castillo. Again, that's 8:33 Eastern time on Fox One.
From MLB postseason to NFL on Fox to Big Noon Saturdays, shout out James. With
Go
Fox
Bucks.
One, you get it all live. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to fox1.com for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, streaming now. Now let's talk about Jeff Albert, because James, you love this guy. You're obsessed with Jeff Albert. He's been in the Mets organization for a while. He is now promoted to basically the hitting version of Eric Yeagers, which is the hitting coordinator.
I got the exact word from Passan's tweet because that's relevant.
But at the end of the day, the interesting part about him to me is that he's going to be sitting on the bench all year with the Mets, which seems like we might be doing a 2 hitting coach situation again.
Also, before we fully shut the door on Kai Correa, shout out Pat Ragazzo, friend of the program.
Shout out Pat.
He had the scoop on it.
Let's go,
so
Pat.
Shout out Pat for that one. But so this is the exact wording from Jeff Passan. New York Mets Director of Hitting Development, Jeff Albert, will be in charge of the Major League team's hitting program in 2026, sources tell ESPN. Albert served as a hitting coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, joined the Mets in 2022. New York's farm system is teeming with good young bats, and the plan is to have Albert run hitting at the Major League level and complement him with another hitting coach, sources said. That word is interesting, complement him.
Oh, so he's on a... Whoa, interesting. What? No, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia, and just about his process as well, is because he came from the Astros, then went to the Cardinals.
Yes.
Good hitting development. Interesting.
Yes,
okay.
Good hitting development. And the Cardinals have stopped their hitting development since Albert left, and it seems like the Mets finally had a breakthrough. But Albert came in that 2022 season when we started to really optimize player development and we started to put people in the right places.
When you look at the guys in the farm system for the Mets, we have just been able, like Jacob Reimer, huge hitting development. AJ Ewing, huge hitting development. They've been able to make some of these guys that weren't the shiny first round picks really pop off.
And Jeff Albert does that with data, biomechanics, and video review. Those are the big things that he does.
I
He's a
love
bat.
that.
He's a bat speed animal.
Oh,
He
yeah.
wants to know how guys can swing harder. He just, again, nerding out on this guy for a second. He has a blog that he maintains. It's only called hittingresearch.com. It's like the absolute dorkiest, nerdiest, like little Squarespace page ever that has him with dense research. So here's one: understanding torso rotation in skilled versus novice hitters.
Didn't you say you had the one about if clenching your jaw has anything to
Yeah,
do with how good of a hitter you are?
That was the next one I was going to say. Clench your jaw for more bat speed, question mark. That's the kind of areas he's thinking in. Jeff Albert is someone who's going to be pushing bat speed, pulled fly balls. Again, when we took him from the Cardinals a few years ago, remember we had an episode about it? I think we learned about it in the middle of the show, and I was like, oh, nice. I like this guy. Because he did come from that first iteration where the Astros were on the cutting edge of all of this modern player development, especially biomechanics. So our buddy Nick talks about the biomechanics all the time, how much that affects hitters, the way that you will it affects your training, and that the training in the weight room, which affects your training on the field, which then affects how you play. Figuring out how to use the plyometrics to your advantage. I'm really saying some words here. People are like, what the fuck are these guys talking about
today? Said, fuck these guys and their fancy words.
So here's a line from here's another one: lower extremity kinematic and kinetic factors associated with bat speed at ball contact during the baseball swing.
Now that being said, I love all this.
Yeah,
can't be talking like this during the season though.
I think this is now we're going to talk about the fact of the two hitting coach thing. It seemed like, and I got deep on this one. I read some old school Cardinals blogs from back in the day. People were critical that he had trouble a little bit connecting with certain players. And Will Salmon, I think, hinted at this a bit in his article here. I want to see one of the quotes that he had here about Albert. I have to scroll down. Here from Andy Green. Albert is as bright as anybody in the game when it comes to hitting. Brightness and communication don't often go hand in hand. So I do think the fact that the word that Jeff Passan used was a hitting coach in the major league level to compliment him, that can't be an even. Those can't be co-hitting coaches again.
No.
We need Albert and we need an assistant hitting coach. I think that is where we have to do it. And also,
it'll also be really telling who that assistant hitting coach is going to be too.
Well, it looks like that's leaning towards being Rafael Fernandez, the guy who we shouted out a few episodes ago.
Who's had a beer with him.
Yes, who's been with the Mets organization for a long time, has a relationship with Albert, and has been lauded by the players in this team, especially Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor.
Kind of like that.
As being great communicators. So if you can mash those two guys together, Albert is our data freak who's in charge of the crazy numbers and biomechanics stuff.
He says lower extremities and jaw clenching, and Rafael Fernandez is like, Juan Soto, let's use your hips a little more.
Yeah, it's usually swing those hips, baby. Like swing a little harder. I think that's key here. But with that being said, we need to make sure that there is a very good structure of power there, because it did not work last time.
No, and it does scare me to hear that again. I'm not going to lie. That terrifies me to hear that they're theoretically are two hitting coaches again.
No, it scared me badly when I read it at that time. But Albert has gotten crazy props through the industry, similar to Kai Correa, of people being like, this is a hitting maven. Like this is a guy that knows how to hit in the modern era.
Another baseball rat too. I love reading his thing. So he's a New York guy from Rochester. He then went to Butler, played baseball at Butler. I know you like that, Middle America. You love the Midwest. He then signed in 2003 with the Washington Wild Things of the Frontier League, an independent baseball league. While he was doing that, he also earned a master's degree in kinesiology at Louisiana Tech. What a well-traveled person. But also in the weirdest spots. He goes from Rochester to Butler, Indiana, to then Louisiana Tech, not even the biggest school in Louisiana.
No,
what a weird choice of paths for Jeff Albert.
And again, there's a long history of him having successful teams hitting at the major league level. Good teams.
Any relation to Marv, maybe?
I mean, that would be the cherry on top of this entire thing here. Maybe him and Kenny cousins. But I'm excited by this. He loves using video as a part of his training too.
Video for hitting.
I think it's a big deal, especially to use video of yourself, but then also to have really slow motion video. I think they're called blast sensors, and there's something called some other high speed camera they have. I forgot the name off the top of my head right now, but just making sure that everyone's on board with this stuff. And again, him having a translator, like a numbers and analytics translator, will be key. And if what Will Salmon is hinting at here, insinuating that could be Rafael Fernandez, that seems like something that could be worthwhile.
Let's go Mets. That's pretty much all the Mets news, right? I don't think there's anything else to cover that we've missed this week.
We also signed our first player. We got a side armor.
Wait, who do we sign?
Something Jacques. I've never heard of him.
Jacques?
Yeah, I got it from Tacoma.
What's the first name?
Joe Jacques.
Jacques.
Lefty side armor, Manhattan Jasper, New Jersey native.
Wow, let's go. Shrewsbury. I might have played against this guy. I've played against people from that area a lot. I don't remember a lefty side armor, though. I will say that. He also definitely played with someone I played with Oh, it's Jakes. It's pronounced Jakes. Joe Jakes.
Joe Jakes. All right, Joe Jakes is good. And then past that, we have Luis Torrens and David Peterson were nominated for Gold Gloves, which I think is cool.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, that's cool. And then we
got
still
a Media
have
Marvel.
Yeah, I had one too. So who's yours?
Well, wasn't it Puma? Wasn't that? I thought we agreed that it was going to be Puma.
Oh yeah, I found another one I wanted to say. We can close with mine because it's more about all baseball. But I'm down to start with Puma.
But before we get going into the Media Marvel, first, quick little DraftKings spotlight. A lot of baseball today. When you guys are listening or watching this Thursday, we got the ALCS and NLCS. Big games. Both teams, Blue Jays and Brewers, looking to make a comeback. But I'm looking at that Blue Jays game. I see Max Scherzer on the mound, and I'm going to be honest. I feel for Blue Jays fans right there. That one is terrifying. As someone who has had Max Scherzer pitch for his team recently, that was 3 years ago. He's 3 years older. Tried to tank the Rangers playoff run, couldn't do it. They were too good. Blue Jays, this is a scary one going into Game 4.
This could also be a demoralizing moment for Blue Jays fans because we're recording this before Game 3 when you have Shane Bieber trying to save your season, not go down 3-0 against George Kirby. I don't know what's going to happen, but at least a place like Seattle, T-Mobile Park can keep the ball in the yard for both those guys.
That being said, I will be taking the under on Max Scherzer outs in this game. There's absolutely no way that he goes anything more than 4 innings.
And I'll be very ready for the Josh Naylor home run bet.
Oh, Josh Naylor home run.
Hasn't had the biggest power surge in the playoffs so far. It's more just doing it with energy and base hits and stolen bases somehow. But as a lefty, Scherzer's really struggled against lefties in this later part of his career. Josh Naylor is going to put the nail in the coffin.
I also will be taking the hard over on Tyler Glasnow outs because, as you previously mentioned on the windup, the Dodgers are like, if these pitchers can throw 120 pitches, we are going to do that. The bullpen can't come into this game.
It's amazing having a 6-man rotation all year keeps these guys rested for the playoffs. Who knew?
We're going to see that with a lot of teams coming up. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, James, time for those Media Marvels. Mike Puma, friend of the podcast, always on here, finding his way into a Media Marvel during the offseason is fantastic. He wrote an article completely scorching David Stearns for not taking a meeting with Blake Snell. Yeah. Conveniently forgetting that Blake Snell seemingly signed in the middle of the night with the Dodgers randomly.
Yeah. It was literally like 10 o'clock, I think, on a Friday night, like 3 days into free agency. And it did seem like Blake Snell, who just spent many years on the West Coast, grew up on the West Coast, probably wanted to stay on the West Coast.
Took a price cut to go with the Dodgers, too. Like, he got a great
price cut. He got a great
deal, but we know that he could have probably gotten more if he waited a week, maybe.
And I think we're also in a spot where, at the time, last offseason, before we got into that deal actually being signed, I was banging the drum for Blake Snell.
Oh, like, we were pro Blake Snell on this podcast.
And we got a lot of hate from you guys for it. But now you look at Blake Snell. He just, after the 8th inning gem in Game 1 against the Brewers, he's made 15 playoff appearances. He has 70 playoff innings, 2.58 ERA, 1.03 whip. When the guy is on the mound, which, fair, not always, he's one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball when he's on the mound.
Easily. Yeah, he's really good. And that's, you see how the Dodgers built their team. You just want the best pitchers. You don't worry about how sustainable, how many innings they're going to give you. Just want the best players when it matters the most. And that rotation is out of control good.
And I don't remember if it was a Puma or just other people on the internet who were also saying the same thing about David Stearns not meeting with Max Fried last year. And I think Max Fried's still a great pitcher. We know that. But we also just saw Max Fried get torched.
Eviscerated.
And kind of get the Yankees eliminated in a game where they kind of had to win the second game down 0-1 in a best of 5. So there's not a perfect way to build a rotation. The one perfect move the Mets could have made to build this rotation, they tried to make very hard, is where I'll take us to the next Media Marvel we have here. And that's from, oddly, Josh Reddick. Never expected this to happen, but a tweet came across my timeline that Josh Reddick tweeted on December 22nd, 2023 at 10:36 a.m., which you guys remember, I think was right when the Yamamoto deal happened. Yeah. And he didn't even mention Yamamoto's name, but we all knew he was talking about it because he said, how do you give a guy $325 million without ever throwing a pitch in MLB? And then someone replied, baseball is ruined. And then Josh Reddick replied to that, I agree.
Yeah, that's like gonna go down as one of the worst takes ever. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, holy shit, he's so good. We were watching the
Incredible.
game in a bar. Shout out. Now I'm not gonna shout out the bar, but we went to a bar last night and we were watching the game. And on pitch like 108, Yoshinobu Yamamoto goes 70-mile-an-hour curveball, dotted outside corner to a right-handed batter, comes back with 2 splitters that are bearing in on the right-handed batter, not even close, and then he just paints again on the corner. Like he's a top 5 pitcher in the game. He's so good. He is worth all the money. He's the highest paid pitcher ever, right? I think that still stands as the highest paid pitcher ever in baseball history.
I think by total contract, I'll double check that right now, but I believe so.
And he lives up to every single dollar. He's so incredibly good.
We're also at a spot with Yoshinobu Yamamoto where he might have 2 seasons in Major League Baseball and 2 World Series rings.
Yeah.
In a week, in 3 weeks. Like this, he's
so good.
He's such a difference maker for this Dodgers rotation. And like we rightfully identified that. And I don't know. Yeah, he's the highest paid, $1 more million than Garrett Cole got, 325 versus 324.
Better than Garrett Cole.
Well, now Garrett Cole's old. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's 26 years old right now.
Know.
Like it's unbelievable.
Such a sick contract. God dang it.
that was that at bat to Andrew Vaughn too. We were both like, what the like?
Yeah,
it was
we
just
smacked
every
each
single
other.
pitch. Yeah, like Jesus Christ! Like how are you doing that pitch 110? And again, it's cool the Dodgers kept these guys pretty fresh all year. Like this conversation comes up in the Mets a lot because we have Kodai Senga for now, and the question is, oh, you're gonna do 6-man rotation? You're gonna baby this guy? He's gonna hold the whole rotation ransom? No, it's not that. It's good for everybody if you have the 6 pitchers to do it. The Dodgers scratched and clawed to get to the regular season with their pitching staff, patch it together with fucking paper mache. But Yamamoto was the guy that was there the whole time, and he was the anchor. Then all of a sudden, you get to the playoffs, everyone's healthy, everyone's fresh. These guys are throwing more than they've ever thrown in a game all season. They're throwing as hard as they were throwing in June, July, and you like, wow, maybe this system does work.
You know, it would have been really nice for this Mets team this past year. Kodai Senga pitching every 6 days, Sean Manaea pitching every 6 days, Clay Holmes, David Peterson, who threw more innings than he ever had and fell off a cliff as soon as he did. Would have been great if he probably had an extra day every single time he went out on the mound.
Which is why sometimes we do get kind of dragged back to this idea of volume shooting this rotation, just because sometimes that might actually work at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, man, 6-man rotation would have been great for the Mets this year. Probably make the playoffs if they did that.
And again, Josh Reddick, how do you give a guy $325 million without throwing a pitch in MLB? Josh Reddick, how do you hit 315 when you've never hit above 260 in your life?
Good question.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, good question.
Anything happened 2017 with the Astros I'm forgetting?
I also think it's super funny too. Again, goes back to that Robert Stock tweet where it's like we can identify what a pitch looks like and go, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
And Yoshinobu Yamamoto had all of it.
And that was a big thing we talked about during that whole kind of situation that was going on. People were like, he's never thrown a pitch, but know how he's going to respond. Like, we have the way they move. The way they move is going to determine how much hitters can hit them. We have the velocity, we have when they move, we have how he uses them. You got it all right now. Like, that's how a guy like Trey Savage can just be in the major leagues a year after being drafted. Jonathan can pitch not at all. Yeah, in the upper minors. Yeah. Nolan McLean, once these pitches change, like, all right, ready to go.
Yep, he's good. Get him to the majors.
Pack him up right now. It's just it's almost like we know too much now. Pandora's box has been opened, and like you can make 3 pitches in the laboratory. You can send the guy to the major leagues, and you're ready to go.
It is pretty cool though, from an outside perspective, just being like, wow, baseball numbers. That's all it is. It's only ever been numbers.
I mean, there's the human element is definitely still involved, and
yes.
you can't say that's not. But at the same time, a guy like Yamamoto, who people were still like, I don't know how I feel, similar to what Reddick said, where it's like, can you bring a guy?
I was ready to
the
jump
major
on
leagues?
him if he sucked, for sure.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, for sure. But we knew he wouldn't because you're like, oh, here's 96. There's the curve. There's the split. I don't see an issue.
No. And he's going to be a big reason why the Dodgers win another World Series. That's it for this episode, though, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure you're subscribed to the Mets'd podcast on YouTube. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
And I'm Giraffe Nick Mark with a C. We will catch you guys all next week unless some big news happens. But if not, we'll see you on Monday for the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.